Welcome everyone to another video, and in this video we are going to be featuring some battles for my wife who hit legend with this team. I think this is one of the best teams in Great Lake. It is Defense Deoxys, Greedent as a safe swap, and Greninja as a closer. There's so many teams. Greninja is just an amazing core breaker, but so my wife hit legend yesterday. I think went like 13-2 or something. Anyways, incredible run. Anyways, these are the last. This is the last set where she needed to hit. She needed to hit the to get 3 wins in order to get her Pikachu Libre, and goes immediately for the Psycho Boost and goes into Greedent. The reason why you want to go into Greedent is in case they have a Virizion or a Cobalion, you need to bait it out with Greedent, and they end up throwing the Blast Burn and they come into Virizion, which is exactly what you want. So very weird that they decided to throw the blast burn. They could have just came into straight into Virizion, and then gonna throw it not the best timing here, just because the Virizion does have a move, and you do want to chip it in order for it to be into Psycho Boost range, and they do end up throwing the move as you've seen there. And then you got to go into Deoxys as soon as possible because you want to make sure that you get you take out this Virizion to allow you to sweep with Greninja so that it doesn't get out. As you can see, you don't throw on the Psycho Boost because it would be a CMP tie, and you get the extra counter this way. And they come into Giratina. So as you can see here, this is the reason why you wanted to go in right away, even though the Virizion is still alive. You do line up Greninja onto Giratina. There's obviously still the Charizard in the back, but that's quite all right. And gonna throw the Night Slash at the Charizard. Gonna need one more to take it out. So this is a little bit of a tricky situation here. The Shadow Claws are resisted, and the Dragon Claws do about 25%. So gonna put this pretty close to the red. As you can see, this is a pretty close matchup. And gonna farm up some extra energy because it does need energy in order to take out the Virizion. And then gonna switch. And it should just barely survive this Leaf Blade. And then throw in the Psycho Boost. And then the opponent makes kind of a weird play here. Shielding the Virizion. I guess didn't realize that the Deoxys had so much energy. And this is a very straightforward end game. The opponent is still locked in, so you can just take it out right away. The only real damage here is going to be the Wing Attack damage. So just going to be able to throw the Hydro Cannon, take out the Charizard, and then going to be able to easily get to the Night Slash, and played it beautifully there. So really, Greninja was a huge core breaker for this team. So really, really well played there. Again, if I was trying to climb, this is the team I would try to climb with. This team was featured on Junker's channel. I think it was like the top 20 Ultra League teams or legend players that have hit an Ultra. I think it was one of the Japanese players. So again, shout out to Joggis for featuring, or at least showing the team as one of the options. And when we saw it, I thought it was a really strong team. So again, Greedent, Deoxys versus Greedent. This is actually a favorable matchup for Deoxys because the counters are super effective. But again, you can't really risk that there is something in the back that will sweep Greninja. So you do have to come out and throw the Psycho Boost and then switch. As you can see, the Greedent is about half health. And interesting, the Greedent is staying in versus the opposing Greedent. But Greedent does lose CMP. But Cindy's is in a favorable situation here. Should be able to control switch. And this is a good sign here, unless the opponent is making a huge team raid, that there's no direct counter to the Greninja so far. Not going to throw right away because it is going to be CMP. And then as well, it needs 2 body slams KO anyways. So just going to choose to farm up a little bit. Going to do 2 and throw. So this is right before the next body slam. And 1 away from a body slam. We'll see what comes in. Ends up being the Tentacruel. So this is actually pretty good to line this way because Greninja would have some problems against Tentacruel, especially one with Acid Spray. And we're going to see Deoxys come into the Tentacruel. Again, this is an okay situation. The Scalds are going to do neutral damage. The Poison Jabs also do neutral damage. And they do come into Dragon Breath Giratina. This is kind of tough here. I'm not going to lie. Really needs a boost in this situation. And actually does get the boost, which is super helpful. And then the opponent actually decides to leave the matchup here, I think. Oh, no. They decide to no shield this Night Slash. Maybe they didn't realize that the boost happened because I guess they would have to shield anyways, but perhaps they could have came into Tentacruel and forced it to throw. So kind of a weird play by the opponent. No shielding. The first one makes total sense in case the boost happened, but then you just shield the next two, and it still would have been a pretty close game there. Yeah, it would have been a very close game. Giratina almost certainly wins the 2 shield even with the boost, just because the Dragon Breath damage is so oppressive. And they also have a chance to switch out and force the Deoxys onto Giratina again. So picking up a good lead and then picking up a wonderful save switch here. And it's, yeah, either Pokemon in the back handles Jellicent well. It is, I think we were debating this as we were still looking at the Switch, whether this is the better Switch. This is probably the better Switch just because Greedent usually finds more neutral or positive matchups than Greninja. This is just a Surf, so it doesn't KO. So gonna build up some energy before throwing and doubling up here. And then I doubt the Jellicent will shield, and they don't. And they come into Tapu Fini. And because this team loves Sandslash, you can just immediately swap into, and as you can see how much the resisted Hydro Cannon did was a ridiculous amount there. And we're gonna see Greedent getting the defense drop, and this is all smooth sailing here. Not really too much the opponent could do at this stage. Gonna throw another crunch at this Sandslash. If this was a Powder Stone Sandslash, this certainly would be a closer matchup. But Green with the super effective mud shots and neutral crunch is just gonna be a little bit too strong for this Sandslash. And the body slam spam is coming. This is why this team is just really, really, really nicely balanced and gonna be able to land another body slam. Greedent with mud shot is just so deadly, and potentially looking to farm all the way down and taking out the Tapu Fini and going 4-0 in this set so far. And 3-0? 3-0? I thought it was 4-0. Okay, well, just 3-0. And this was a very strong team, quite spammy. Greninja's super fun. There are some teams that make it difficult to play, but we're going to see Deoxys versus Toxicrow. And we see Tapu Fini come in. Okay, obviously a little, potentially could have Psycho Boost the Tapu Fini, then come into Greedent, just because you do want to control switch. And then unfortunate CMP tie could have definitely sneaked in a mud shot there. And then no debuff, thankfully. So Greedent has a pretty decent matchup here. Can control switch down a shield in this scenario, especially if they decide to not shield. Yeah, once they decide not to shield, then you can just shield and farm down, and then farm down this Tapu Fini. As you can see, Greedent just a little bit too spammy here. Unfortunately, not going to be able to make it to 2 body slams. 2 body slams definitely would have been really nice here. And Toxicrow able to take it out, and they come into Air Slash Mandibuzz, which is really terrible here. Snarl Mandibuzz definitely would have been a little bit more playable since the Snarl would be resisted. And gonna be able to reach the Hydro Cannon. They're at a decent amount of energy here. So let this go. they're probably uh 3. Oh, you know, they have so we'll be able to survive this aerial ace because the aerial ace is a pretty terrible move. And gonna be able to land another Hydro Cannon onto this Mandibuzz. And then this Mandibuzz player actually had a very good thought here. Um, because they wanted to force this Deoxys to Psycho Boost this Toxicrow. And Sydney had a very brilliant idea here, deciding to Thunderbolt, not Psycho Boost. And this allows for the counter down. This is just a Mud Bomb, so not a big deal. And in a pretty good spot here, uh, gonna throw 4 and then throw the Thunderbolt. This Mandibuzz is dry or relatively dry, so there's no way it's gonna be able to make it 2 moves here, and it's just focusing on getting the air slash damage. Unfortunately, Mandibuzz's worst nightmare, fainting to a Psycho Boost. Really nicely played there. Potentially could have just Psycho Boost the Tapu Fini initially and made it a little bit smoother of a matchup, but it still ended up working out pretty well there. All right, and we're going to go into the final game here. We're going to see Deoxys versus Charizard, Shadow Charizard. Again, you need to bait out the potential Greninja counter. So going to go immediately going to throw the Psycho Boost at this Charizard, forcing it to make a decision. They decide to no shield the Psycho Boost, which does a tremendous amount of damage, and they come into Virizion. Was patient there just in case they decide to catch something that resisted Body Slam, but in this case, they save the energy on the Charizard. The Charizard's absolutely loaded. I think it has like 10 wing attacks. So it has 80 energy, has a ton of energy, almost enough for a Dragon Claw and Blast Burn. And decide not to throw there just because it would be CMP if they decide to overfarm, then you have some potential play there. So Deoxys coming in right away. Gonna let this go. Gonna look to build up some energy. And they come into Registeel. Gonna throw the Thunderbolt. This is a very tricky end game here. An extremely tricky end game. Zap Cannon doesn't quite KO the Deoxys. And has the Psycho Boost banked. And then gonna look to switch here. No debuff on the Deoxys, but it doesn't really matter. You gotta switch. And you're gonna throw the Hydro Cannon. Unfortunately, this Registeel is gonna be able to outpace before the Night Slash can come through. And then gonna be forced to shield. Unfortunately, gets debuffed here. And then gonna build up a little bit of energy, then throw the Night Slash. Maybe could have did one more and then through there. And the opponent wastes no time here and gonna throw the Hydro Cannon. Really desperately needs to get out. This actually doesn't KO, but the opponent chooses to shield and gonna shield. And then gonna throw the Charizard's loaded. It's certainly in range and gonna attempt to catch there, but the Charizard decides to come in to the Deoxys, and this is definitely gonna be enough to take it out. A very weird play, and now this Virizion is certainly in range at this point in time for the Hydro Cannon. This is a very fortunate end game. The opponent definitely misplayed there, but really good patience, really good game planning by my wife here. Very proud of her. Hidden legend with this amazing Ultra League team. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see everyone in the next video.